have.
Sorry, George.
We take each of the grandchildren to Disney World and then one trip to Asia or Europe. This was Jordy's, instead of two, he gets one. And got the expense of the trip. Or that's
Good for you.
Yeah.
That's great.
now we have three great grandchildren, one's three. And we may go to Disney World, but we have to take someone to push me in the wheelchair. I just someone.
Hey, I got my hand up first.
Yeah. You know, we always wanted to go to Africa, there's just a fascination with Africa. And I don't have to go back, and that's not a negative. It's just the fact that I'm so, you can't redo it, I mean, people do, but I'm just glad that I didn't get through this world without that experience. It's just such a unique, which I think we can give you a sense of here. Did you want to come?
You said it all other than that I was with you.
But I wanted to say that for last. But it was special, and so we left the United States, we met up with Nancy and Jordy at one of the state airports. Yeah, and then we flew together to Kilimanjaro. And Kilimanjaro is a very basic airport. And it's in the shadow of Mount Kilimanjaro. So that in itself was just fascinating.
George, you'll clue me when you want me to advance, right?
Yeah, I will.
Okay.
Make sure I know, I hate to be obvious, but you're not gonna stand there, right? 'Cause,
No, I'll do it.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate all this help.
So yes, he's got to stand up comedian.
But we traveled there, then we flew into Kilimanjaro. The good news was we all got together in spite of the airlines still then being in flux. But we got there and we lost Carol's bag, my bag, and her daughter-in-law's bag, and they weren't recovered for a week. So every night you had to take, this is our outfit. When we were in the sun, this is. But we made do, we went into one of the towns and Aruba and bought different clothing. And then at the campsite, you would take whatever, usually carry 2 days, so you take one set off, they would wash it and then deliver it to you, so you had it by morning. So you didn't have to carry, they didn't want you to bring a lot of luggage and whatever. And all luggage had to be soft luggage, you couldn't bring a hard suitcase because they were going into the back of the vans and whatever. So, one other interesting point, we get there and our driver was Harry. Harry was African, but Harry, we got talking and maybe you want to share that, Carol, but they're saying the building.
Tell that.
Okay. All right, and that's a change.
No donuts for you.
But Harry was a very pleasant, just very gracious person. And he picks us up in the type of van we'll be driving through the wilderness for. You know, 4-wheel drive, where you can stand up, look through the window and see pictures of that. But we passed this red brick building, very large, very plain but large. The only hint there was a church was it had windows like that, where it was a cross, but you weren't sure that that's what it was.
Yeah.
I said to him, he said, "Oh, that's the Lutheran church." And I said, "Gee, that," and I said, "We're Lutheran," and he said, "So am I." There are more Lutherans in Tanzania than there are Lutherans in America.
Wow.
Wow.
And whatever. And the other one before I forget, we're in camp, this is some days later, and we're gonna go out on the hot air balloon, which was one of the highlights of the show. And they pick you up at 4 a.m. and you're out in the wilderness. And this big part, this shop called there, pulls up at 4, and we climb in, the four of us. And we're down and we're rolling through these dirt roads, and you can see elephants and grass in the light and whatever. And they said, gee, my name's George, and, oh yeah, and my name's Ezekiel. This is a black man, probably 30 years old. And I said, Ezekiel, that's a Christian name, or that's a biblical name. He said, a Christian name. And I said, is that right? Are you Christian? Yeah, I'm Luther. So I didn't feel lonely at all, and needless to say, once we declared we're Lutheran, we got the freedom then. So with that, have you any opening comment?
She was with you.
Yeah. So you go, the parking, back to the parking.
Oh, okay, see if I can do that.
Money in your way here, they're good.
I can figure out how to do that. 1 second.
Right, you go next.
There we go. Okay,
It was your one.
want a laser pointer, George?
Yeah, so this is, and this is one of the entrances to this huge, massive park. No animals can be killed in that park. So everything is protected. Now, yeah. This is the type of tent we stayed in. If you're going through this open, not desert, but the open plains and whatever. Suddenly you look up and in front of you is a series of these on this side. Big tent here, which is your activity tent where they have drinks and foods and whatever kind of finger foods for the cocktail hour. And then you have the dining hall, and then you go further down and there's more of these. So Carol and I were in this, and then our grandson, his mother were in another. This is the accommodation. When you're out there, it's kind of nice to know it's there, and it actually works. You flush it here and whatever. And this is the dining hall, where every evening we would gather at a very formal dinner. And the guides and everybody were there, and we'd review the day, and we could meet different people and whatever. So it was just a marvelous thing. Most of the foods were of beef and lamb and cooked in a stew with rice and whatever. But it was very, very tasty, very good.
That's the shower.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is the shower. And you would tell them when you were gonna take a shower, and they would come and they would fill up the tank outside. Right before you're ready to shower, and so you'll be ready to go.
Was it cold water? Cold?
No, it was warm from the sun.
Oh.
So it was kind of a model, kind of felt good actually, and you had the flow was kind of limited. And you had to move quick or you ended up soaked up with nothing. So that was that, and that's the shower head up there.
You survived.
Yes.
Okay, now here's a picture looking out from the front of the tent. Oh my gosh. And this is the vehicle that we drove in, you see those on TV. Here, you can sit in the evening, and if you look straight out here by that tree line, the giraffes and the hyenas and whatever would come in, and you can actually see them from here to the road. Even closer. Okay, and this was a tour, this is our grandson, George the Fourth. And this is our daughter-in-law, and somewhere the parents are doing this. And yeah, she's taking the picture, right? So there's an example, see this one? And then this is a dining tent, this is your cocktail area, and they did this when you went down, you'd see more of these. And the fire, just that they were wonderful. And and that's one tour of the area outside of the campsite. When you move from one place, there's the go here, there's Mount Kilimanjaro, and you can see the wing here of the plane. And then this is just a field we haven't passed with sheep, they've herd sheep and cattle. And they're slender because the food is limited, it's very dry, it's not like you go out in our countryside and see the green pastures and whatever. And they worked hard to raise the animals. And this is where we flew from one point to another and carrying our luggage.
Hey, Carol,
Yes. Yeah, and these are native of the plane, of the man and the woman. She was a storyteller. She told marvelous stories. There, and then Caroline, of course, and but she's an elderly lady. I'm gonna say she's in her 70s. I just turned in 3. Of course, you know who that is there. And here I mentioned cattle. There are some cattle. You can see how they are thin, but it works. They have their milk and their beef and whatever. And you can just sense the wilderness of it.
How warm was it in the oven? Did you have one?
No, that's the winter.
Oh, it is.
So it's down in the 60s
Oh.
and 70s during the day. It was very pleasant.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
These are actual pictures of us going by. And that's what we saw. It was just amazing.
But this was in a right place, and we'd be sitting.
Yeah, this I told you, you could see them. Here's the chairs. And there they are.
Every morning.
Every morning.
There's no, I'm sorry, there's no fence or anything, right?
No,
They would come closer.
no, in fact, it's interesting. When we came to our first camp, which I showed you, the picture of me standing. There was an army officer, obviously in the green and whatever on the sleeve. And he has a gun. And I'm thinking, hey, wait a minute, that's comforting, but it's also, if you need somebody with a gun. And they said, oh, that's not to protect against robbers or terrorists or anything. That is to keep the animals away during the nighttime. And he would fire their gun and the animals knew enough to disperse. And only one night did an animal get close and we heard the commotion outside and you could hear him shooing away.
You just lost a couple of people in the meeting.
Another picture.
Do they make sounds, giraffes?
Yeah, they do.
Okay.
And it's a, ooh,
Okay, yeah.
yeah.
Beautiful.
I mean, it's just fascinating to see those. You're standing right close. Yeah. These, you can see the birds, and this is the willoughbys, which we'll see a lot of now. We'll tell you a little bit about that. These are the ostriches, and that's just a picture we have to be going by on the road. And here is an evening of wine and popcorn, you can see that. Yeah, popcorn, that was a big thing there. And actually chips. Yeah.
It's too bad we don't have a better projector. I mean, on the screen here, these pictures are crystal clear. They're beautiful. Yeah. So I am recording, so maybe I'll get a link to send out. People can see it again.
These are bones that we took on our tour. This is our tour guide here. And he was just, I mean, guess maybe a man 40. And he was just, he and his associate marvelous. And very caring and very respectful. This is where we were dining out in the open plain, where they bring a truck and set it up and whatever.
They said.
Yeah, they set it on a table. Now, this is the lion. Yeah, close we were.
Oh, that's cool.
Then the elephants, I gotta tell you, I was fascinated about the elephants. They were just, this was the first elephants we saw. They said, oh, there's some in the bush. And then this is our grandson. So. Okay, I'm moving quickly so you can see and not. The other big one is the zebra. Yeah, And then this is the dead wildebeest, and these are the buzzards that are just
Oh, wow.
chopping him to pieces.
Yeah.
And they would, not to be gross, but they would take that neck that long and run it up into their throat or the opposite end to clean out the inside of the animal. The birds would do that. My notes, as I said, I misplaced. But I can, there are, they call them the big five. They're the five, not one of many, five of many, but the five, the big ones, animals are the lion, the elephant, with the horn, the rhino, the leopard, and the water buffalo. And I was reading as to why, and they were explaining, those animals are called the big five because they're not easily killed. Hippos can easily be just killed, where these others are very difficult. Now, they're not allowed to be killed. We saw every one of the big five, including, and we'll show you, the lions. We came down the road and right across was this big rock formation. And down in there, from here to the table to you, there was 3 lion cubs, and they said it's so rare. And it was like you could go out and pick them up. And I was teasing, and the guide said, you know, you wouldn't get far because there's a lion and watch. We don't see him or her, but they watch constantly. These are the crocodiles. And interesting, the wildebeest and the zebras travel together. I mean, when you look, you often see them all mixed up in the field, and they explain it they just identify. And we'll see, I think we'll show you later the conflict between these guys and, well, both of them, but particularly the wildebeest when they cross the water. Very few people see that, the crossing, and Caroline and George and Nancy, we saw the actual wildebeest crossing the water split, and the crocs going after them. And it was unreal, but we'll show you some pictures. Okay. Yeah. These are elephants, you often see them in the water. And here are the wildebeest. And we're up on a hill looking down. And they're crossing, and you can see the water splash where the crocodiles are going after. And then they come up here. Terrell just said, George, remind me of why did the wildebeest cross that river? And they do it in semi-annually. And the reason is that part of the Serengeti becomes dry, and there's no water, and there's no grass to be eaten. So they migrate across the water to get to the other side, which is greener pastures, as they say. And there may be, I'm not sure about it. But what's interesting, if you look at this, if you were looking at this over here, these animals, the wildebeest and the zebra, are all lined up.
Hundreds and hundreds of.
Thousands. And then they're gonna come down. Here, there's a path that comes down here. But there's a lead of wildebeest. And we waited for like 2 hours. And the lead wildebeest would come down. And he'd get down to the bottom where he could almost drink the water. And then he'd go back up. And the wildebeest would wait and wait. And then all of a sudden we saw him move from a point further down up to here. And with that, our daughter-in-law, we're sitting in the van, and my daughter-in-law says, there they go. And you can see this mad rush of them crossing
I have a friend that's a travel agent, and she was there. How many times?
11 times.
11 times, and it wasn't until the 11th time. She was going to see that, and she never saw it till the 11th time.
Cool.
And we saw it the first.
Now, this is the next thing. And I just would share with you, I said to my grandson when he came back, and he's in Denver, I said, Jordy, Grandpa's been thinking a lot about it. What are my 2 most outstanding things among all of them were the Willoughbys crossing the river. And the balloon ride, which I'll explain in a minute. What were yours? Well, the balloon ride, Mayor Paul. But what was the other? He said, all the people that we met during our tour, the guides, the books, the native people and whatever, he was just fascinated with that chemistry and how they see it. This is myself standing, and this is the balloon that's they're blowing air into it to get it, and you can see the valley, they're large. This is just gigantic. It doesn't give you perspective. This is the basket. And then maybe one more to see if there's any.
And how many people go in that basket? How many?
There's like 16.
Oh, my.
If you go back.
Go back one.
Yeah. Yeah, in this basket, if you were looking, it just looks like a basket. Then there's compartments. The center compartment is the man who controls the balloon. And then on each side of him, there are people looking out this way in a compartment and people looking out the opposite, and both sides of him. So there's 16, and to get into it, this was the challenge. They said,
That's laying on the side.
that's laying on its side, and you get in while it's laying on its side. And they said, sir, I'm gonna let you go in first. I thought that was a compliment. He said, we're gonna let you go in the bottom compartment. And so you had to literally crawl in on your back. And then you were laying flat like this, right? And then when the balloon suddenly came up and you could hear it rolling against the ground, when you stood, you were looking out from the top of the basket. So the basket's here, and then you're looking out. And you cross this open area, and underneath you see the wild animals. It's just incredible, and it's so quiet. I mean, it's just total silence. Then when they get to the end of this ride, they bring you down, and again, it's boom, 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 while the balloon's deflating. And I was fortunate and not so fortunate. We land, my head's now hanging out of the basket. And I look over and I see a powerful something that I just missed. And somebody suggested, George, you know your whatever. But I really didn't know. When I think it's an elephant. This is the plane. You can see it. And when you land, you look down this hill and they pick you up in the van, take you down, and they have a picnic table of breakfast, of eggs and meats and cheeses and wine, or not wine, but champagne. Yeah, orange juice. It was amazing. Okay.
There we are.
There we go. Oh, so they're holding up the champagne. And the guide was interesting. The man who was our fellow, he was here. I'm right next to him. I'm here and he's controlling the balloon. He said, you ever been on one? I said, yeah, my wife and I went on a balloon in Connecticut on our 25th anniversary. Oh, and I said, there was a fellow used to be there bowling. Oh, he said, I know him very well. He said, I purchased a couple of his sport that he did. And then he knew that Bolin died, as you may well know. Bolin moved to Vermont. He was a school teacher in Farmington, had the balloons down here. Then he moved to Vermont a couple years ago. And they were in a balloon and it ran out of gas and it came down in a group of trees. He was outside and they got it ignited and the balloon took off with him hanging. And it went across the people. It's amazing he lived, but he hollered up and said, I can't hold it. But this man knew him very well.
Oh,
Yes.
Wow.
Just over that. Now, here's No, no.
Well.
Water buffalo.
Water. And then, you see how close the elephants are? This is, your art veins,
Yeah.
and they're crossing between. These are the rhinos. I didn't realize. They're the most dangerous of the animals. They'll destroy you if you get close.
Hmm.
Not the rhino. Hippo. Here are the cubs. You can see it's kind of hard to see. And this was separate picture of that. Yeah,
So it's straight out of the Lion King.
Yeah.
yeah. There's.
Leopard, yeah.
And we're, they're, having an evening.
Look at those comfy cushions you're sitting on.
And we saw the cat take one of the animals and literally drag it up the tree to protect it from other animals.
It must be, just the edge of life and death always in front of you.
Always in
the
front of
others.
Yeah, yeah, you can, it's amazing, it's constant.
So the tents are canvas or are they?
Canvas,
Oh.
yeah.
So there's one guy with them?
Carol stayed in the truck, I stayed in the truck and she stayed in the camper. I mean, it's secure, but the other thing was, you mentioned about the weather was nighttime, it became chilly, not cold, but chilly. And you went into your tent and it's a wide bed, a king size bed. And you crawl in and it's filled with water, hot water bottles.
Oh.
Just amazing. Cool.
Yeah. This was just an observation point with the formation there. The rock formation where you can see it centuries and centuries wash. Very dry. The other picture to see the vastness.
And it's pretty lush where the picture was
Yeah,
taken from.
We were up high, but
Yeah.
we were on a road, so we were high, so you're looking into the Serengeti.
Mhm.
There, just look at the up closeness of that. And the zebra. And what doesn't do justice, you can see, look after the thousands. That's a monkey. No, I'm not sure. I think, no, it's not, it's a cat of some type, I can't make it out. And this is just another picture of the water and these would be animals down by it. There's some more, there you get a little flavor of the wildebeest, that's when they're spread out, but when they travel like 2 and 3 wide per mile. And you can see them winding through, heading to the river.
Is that a hyena, George? On the
No,
right
no,
picture?
it's a cat.
Oh,
Well, there are a lot of hyenas. With another close up, there's a. You can see how close you get.
yeah, you're pretty close there.
What an experience.
This is a little town that we stopped at. Or in fact, we didn't stop, we took a picture of. And this is very typical of how they live. And these are, I don't know how you make the distinction between the native, the storyteller and their dress. But these are people who have little centers of town with drugstores and very, very primitive, very, very primitive. You counter less there to give the flavor of it. You can see the dirty dustiness of it, this little stand here, and then this is their mall. And you can see the different bank and some type of an insurance, I assume. And bikes are the big thing, everybody rides on the bank bike.
Different.
Well, explain what that is. What's the bull washing bar?
We missed
Like
that.
that soap.
I'll confess in private.
These are, these are artists and they do remarkable work. It doesn't do justice. But you come in here and then you go into this marvelous store that has wood carvings and paintings and whatever. And one of the encounters was our grandson wanted a picture of a cat. As I just mentioned was the national, one of the big five. The
Lion?
leopard. He wanted a picture. It was a headshot. And the fella told him it was $85. And Jordy had $20. And the picture is rather primitive. And they put it on a wooden frame. And then when you buy it, they take it off the frame and wrap it up. And so I got into negotiations. With him. I said, Jordy was there. I said, gee, you mean $80, $85? Yeah. I said, why? So I went to the car and I could see Jordy was disappointed. He wasn't crying, but he was disappointed. I said, hey, Jordy, give me that $20. So I took his $20 and I went back in and I matched it with another 20. And I said, let me share something with you. This young fellow is extremely saddened that he's gonna go back without that picture. And I'm a man of limited means. But I'd sure like to, I'll contribute. I'll match his 20. The guy went. Wrapped it up. I took it to the car and Jordy's a good athlete and very, he came up, he was so happy, he reached through the open door and gave me. And we went out to his bedroom out in Denver and there's the picture of it.
Okay.
But whether you see wood carving.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is where you got your medicine. Can you imagine? And we went in and we needed, I had a stomach problem and I'm trying to think what the patent medicine is. And lo and behold, they had it. Yeah. And this is one part, when we left Kilimanjaro Airport, they took us to I'm going back, they took us to a hotel in the center of the town that you had seen the people walking, whatever, not the latest one, the earlier. And it was like an oasis. It was the plants and buffet dinners and just a wonderful, wonderful place. We were there for one day and one night before they picked us up to take us out to the plains. And then when we came back and finished our trip, the company we used, they have a resort. And they took us to the resort for 2 nights. And I found this fascinating. They had a farm. And on the farm, they had these goats among turkeys and anything else you could imagine. And they did their own milking and pigs or whatever. But this was just the goats could come up, go in, or the other wall. Then this is that resort. We were sitting on the deck looking out. You can see how lush it was. It was a coffee plantation. We bought our coffee and served this dinner, the finest dinner you could imagine. So that wrapped it up. Then we went to the Netherlands, Amsterdam, as a connecting point to fly back home. And then we would Jordy and Nancy were going to Denver, we were coming back to Hartford or Boston, I guess it was. And this was the windmill, very rainy day, but it still was fascinating. We used to obviously saw a lot of cheese. Oh, yeah. There, with my wooden shoes. This is, I think, this is where Anne Frank was, staying. And the waterways there are marvelous, and people lived in these boats, plus all the apartments, it was.
Contrast.
Fascinating.
It's a contrast to the Serengeti.
Oh, my God. They're really amazing.
And we had never been there before, so it's, yeah.
I think that's the last slide, I think. Yeah.
Any questions, observations, or?
Are you still a man with limited means?
Yes, yeah. And before I married Carol, I came from a relatively, not wealthy, but no. But you know what, with Carol, some of the negotiations, oh, Carol, that's new. You know what, George? Yes, I just bought that. And I said, well, let me tell you a little bit about it. You didn't pay full price. You really got the best deal in the world. Almost gave it to you. That's Carol. Oh, I got there and they gave 30% off and 20% off.
Yeah.
Did you plan this yourself or work with a?
No, we work with the travel agency out of Massachusetts. And we were over to Vietnam in 3-4 years ago. The year before we initially planned to go here. And there was a couple from Pittsburgh, and we said, oh, we're gonna do a safari. He said, well, let me share with you. Here's a company in Massachusetts, and they're considered the best. Yeah. It cost like, I think it was like, with everything, maybe, once in a lifetime, but I think this sounds like 30,000 per person. We had guests come in to visit with us the Christmas before. They were over and they spent $100,000 and some $1,000. I said, I'd never be able to, wouldn't begin to be able to do that. So, yeah.
I was struck again, actually, when Pastor Brian was speaking about the parables kind of being written to a different audience.
Right.
It's this being there, and again, the reality of death always there. And then we're kind of protected from it. And yet to realize, that if we put trust in Christ, we can live in a way, our life and purpose of living. And just being there, I would think would really bring your faith, quicken your faith, strengthen your faith, to know that death is right there.
Yeah.
I want to finish well.
Yeah.
Like in the reading, Paul saying, I want to yearn forward to the upward call of Christ, and this, it just seems like we're really quick at that.
Well, it's not only the being so close to death, which you sense the lion and the hyenas and everything moving against. And you realize this is nature, right? It didn't happen. There's nothing living. But the other thing that struck me was hard, and the points of the was how fortunate we are when you see the people that had smiles in their face, but limited clothing, limited housing, dusty streets, just a way of life we couldn't, like one president, just whatever, and how fortunate we are. And sometimes we complain and we understand so, but we really, it just brought home the message. We are blessed for all the reasons you said and all the others. Any other observations? Like I said, I'll get home and think about a lot of things like.
And you find all your notes.
Yeah. So you were fortunate that I lost my notes. Because you said you're not earlier.
Taken out to the car, I wonder if they're in that car seat.
Well, thanks so much for.